I'm a rather center-left, kind of leaning towards progressive individual. I think social justice is good. I think racism is bad. I think we can institute programs, to certain degrees that will help alleviate historical injustice. I just don't like authoritarianism. But then I can see a story like this from the BBC and flat out say that some people who claim to be progressive, there's something wrong with them, right? What they're doing isn't based on anything logical. Why my politics are where they are is totally logical, okay? I'll explain that, but this BBC article is titled, "Should Women Be Spelt WOMXN?" WOMXN? Like, that's the only way I can pronounce it. It's an X. WOMXN. That's what they're saying. Okay, let me explain something. I believe that you can easily look at recent history and see that things were incredibly racist in the past, and there are programs being implemented, and there were programs in the past, and there are still programs today that are really bad. Some of them are actually new, and these can exacerbate racism. I also think that many people who claim to be fighting against racism are creating programs that are extremely racist. Thus, I believe there are things we can do to alleviate racism, right? And sexism, transphobia, homophobia, and all that stuff. Let's talk about like an old example, redlining, blockbusting. Long story short, these were policies, they were practices that discriminated against black people, essentially, in the housing market. We should get rid of that. That's progressive. Hey, let's lower the barriers of entry and make sure we can ensure equal opportunity. That's progressive. But then you have people on the far left saying things like, we should discriminate against Asians in universities. They're actually, like Vox actually runs that article. Okay, that's regressive, that's reactionary, that's going back to when racism was a thing. I would argue, right? That's why we call them the regressive left. They're not progressives. The idea of a progressive, at least in my opinion, I don't want to get into the complicated aspects of it all, is somebody who wants to, you're moving, it's like tradition versus progression. And tradition is how things used to be, and progress is how things will be in the future. And that means, look, in my opinion, progress means we're moving towards liberty. We're moving towards equality. But when you say something like, we can discriminate against Asian people because they're Asian, I'm like, that's actually not progress. That's regression, right? So these people who want to change the spelling of women to WOMXN, this is not progressive. This is, I don't know what this is. Because changing the way we spell women to WOMXN, I can't believe I'm actually saying WOMXN, does literally nothing to ensure equality, to ensure liberty for all peoples, regardless of, immutable characteristics, what they believe, where they come from. WOMXN. To the untrained eye, it might look like a typo. But when the Woman Collection, a museum and library in London, sent a tweet promoting an event using the word, it led to a Twitter backlash from hundreds of women and an apology from the organization. Oh my God. They tried to be so progressive that they made a ridiculous word that made no sense. What? WOMXN. I love saying that. It's actually funny. Like women, WOMXN. Like women, WOMXN, it's hard to say. WOMXN refers to females, but it is an attempt to get away from patriarchal language. Okay. History lesson for y'all. Man didn't used to refer to males. Man was a reference to humans, hominids, etc. And thus you had weremen and withmen. And that's why we have werewolf. Because werewolf literally means like human male wolf. Hybrid, were. So a wereman was a human male and a withman was a human female. I could be wrong. I'm not a linguist. I just read some stuff online about werewolves this one time, and that's how I learned about it, okay? So I'm assuming it's true. I could be wrong. You can fact check me. That's not what I'm doing right now. But I think it's funny that because at some point man did start to refer literally to males, and now it does today, they decided to remove the vowel from women to make WOMXN, because apparently now WOMXN is it's not patriarchal. Okay. It's not patriarchal to call a human female a woman. It's literally just a word. It's just something that linguistically evolved over time. And I don't understand why people get so angry at words. Seriously, it's a word, But language is sexist, I guess. Dr. Clara Bradbury Rance, fellow at King's College London, said the spelling stems from a long-standing objection to the word woman as it comes from man. And the linguistic roots of the word mean that it really does come from the word man. What? The word is also supposed to be inclusive of trans women and some non-binary people. But how is it pronounced? Here's where they're going to tell me I'm wrong, but I'm going to tell you I'm right. I've heard WOMXN pronounced in lots of different ways. I've heard some pronounce it WOMXN, Dr. Bradbury Rance says. WOMXN. You can see they literally had to spell the word differently with an I and the X at the end to make it sound like WOMXN. Otherwise, people look at this and will say WOMXN. Therefore, I believe... Oh my god. I'm now going to refer to people who are non-binary and trans and feminist as WOMXN. Because that's what they wanted to do. Unless it turns out the social justice, activists of the far left disagree with WOMXN. Why did the Welcome Collection use WOMXN? The museum was promoting... I'm trying really hard not to laugh. The museum was promoting a 4-day event called Daylighting, which featured women's writing. I love how BBC unabashedly just uses like the actual English word women. Arts and ideas in a tweet. The museum said it was using the spelling WOMXN because we feel that it is important to create a space venue that includes diverse perspectives. What? WOMXN. We've had some questions about why we're using the word WOMXN for the event. We're using it because we feel that it is important to create space venue. Yeah, we read that. But the term led hundreds of people, many women, to mock and criticize Welcome Collection. Guardian journalist Hadley Freeman said the museum's new gender categories are men and other. Wow, is that real? Susie Layton said she would not be referred to as a WOMXN until men became mixin. She said, I'll be a WOMXN when men become mixin. Until then, jog on and stop eroding women's rights. So the social justice left is actually opposed to the use of WOMXN. This is really interesting to me. Guardian journalist Hadley Freeman said the museum's new gender categories are men and other. I don't know if that's a joke, but if that's true, that's really interesting. Maybe someone's making a joke, they're being facetious. Man and other. That literally means that if you choose to identify as a man, you will be discriminated against. Why would anyone do that? Like, we're literally walking towards a future where men are literally just going to be like, I'm a WOMXN. And then everyone's going to go, you can't discriminate against her, because they're a WOMXN now because I said so. Right? I've talked about this in many videos, that when we try to encompass everyone in a special class, eventually there's no special class. Like, you ever see the movie Incredibles? I think it's The Incredibles, where the kid says, he's special, and then his mom goes, everyone's special, and he goes, yeah, it's a fancy way of saying no one is. Like, if everyone is special, then no one is special, right? If anyone can be a WOMXN, then why would any male human identify as a man if they're going to get treated differently or discriminated against for being a man? If like, I don't know if this stuff will take, oh my god, WOMXN. If this stuff actually becomes pervasive, and it looks like they apologize and they're pulling back on WOMXN, then we're going to come to a future where literally white men will just be transracial trans women. Whether they are or not, they'll just say they are. Why? Because we want to protect marginalized groups. We want to say something like, listen, we shouldn't tell Asian people that they're not going to go to college simply because they're Asian, right? We want to protect marginalized communities from large demographics. And now you have the white patriarchy literally telling Asian people, and it's actually the left-wing white patriarchy, I'm being a bit facetious, but it's telling Asian people that, yes, you're going to be discriminated against, and Vox runs an article saying it's okay. Otherwise, white people will fight against affirmative action, so Asian people should be okay with being discriminated against. Like, we're literally going to come to a future where you're going to have a white male be like, I'm an Asian woman. And people have made jokes about it. They have, but it's because this is ridiculous. WOMXN literally makes no sense. Why would you say that? That's ridiculous. One Twitter user said it was demeaning and insulting to women. I would agree. It is. This is great. Vanessa Bailey called it Nixon sense, and Jillian Craigie referred to it as a load of, okay, let me try and do this. Bixelix. Many mocked the spelling. One wrote, I can't read this sentence. Wixel you send your Calixburixters, Clixlerly, Hivix too much Timix on your Hicksons, Gixt Ix grip. You know what this is? It is all about because of, this comes from like Latinx. Somebody told me that there was like, I don't know if this is true, but someone told me that in Argentina, the president was a woman and she said, todos y todas, which means like todos is all, but todas is the feminine version. And like they said that people were offended because they basically said everyone and the women. And so people started using Latinx because it refers to both, I guess, but it's still a ridiculous way. Like, why use an X? Just use a U or something. Latinas, Latinis, you know? Like, why make it a non-vowel sound? If they like, there was the thing a long time ago, I don't really know much about it, but it was women with a Y. What's wrong with it? Why did you have to make it an X? You can't even pronounce it. It's a consonant, not a vowel. The Welcome Collection said it used WOMXN with the intent of being inclusive. One of the groups that the term was supposed to include was trans women, but campaign group Transmedia Watch said it would never use that term. Trans women aren't a special separate category. One Twitter user said, "I'm not a WOMXN though, I'm a woman, so I guess that excludes me." God, oh, my brain. This makes me laugh. The idea that somebody tried to be so woke that they tried to change woman to WOMXN. But I can't say I'm at all surprised that by using WOMXN, they actually pissed off the far left, the social justice activists, because there's no rules. There's no rules, right? So you have this group saying, we want to be inclusive, so we'll do WOMXN, and then you have trans women being like, you're excluding me. And it's like, oh, you know, in your attempts to be overly progressive, I mean, I don't like using the term progressive for this because it's not, it's regressive. Actually, this is a really good example of what I was saying earlier. They think they're progressive by creating the word WOMXN, but all they've done is created a third category that lumps all non-biological females into an external group that is not women, right? These people, the social justice activists, are saying trans women are women, and non-binary, you know, women can be women, whatever, however it works. I'm not super familiar, but the idea is there's man and there's woman, and anybody can be a part of those categories. By creating WOMXN, they've actually just basically excised all non-biological females from the word, right? So in their attempts to be progressive, they're extremely regressive by creating a separate category as to how they would define these people. I'm being a bit, I'm making an argument that I don't think is entirely sound, but I'm trying to make a point, you know, how this exemplifies. So let's see, as far as I can tell, I think the problem has been seen as too simplistic in their suggestion that they're being all-inclusive. To say just using this word makes them completely inclusive in all lots of different ways, trans women, non-binary people, they seem to have used WOMXN as a fix-all. We made a mistake, and we should not have used it. WOMXN, apparently now, they had to apologize. I would argue that WOMXN might actually be a slur at this point. They were offended by it. You can't call a woman a WOMXN. So then what is a WOMXN, and why is it offensive? I think it's ridiculous. Welcome to 2018. You can expect it all to get a whole lot worse as time goes on, and I appreciate you hanging out and pulling out your hair as you watch the absolute insanity that is Western culture devolve into the madness that is WOMXN. But wait. I have another video in just a couple minutes on this channel. It's about Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson being told that because he's mixed race, he can't play a black man in a movie. All right, stick around. Video's coming up right now.